Oh, one more time. Hello, guys. My name is Roman Serchinsky, owner of IT Careers. This is our seminar, and the topic is my past experience, who, what, and how. This seminar will help you to answer questions. Have you worked with project manager? Have you worked with Scrum Master? Okay. So I will provide you with the framework, how to answer these questions. Okay, and we'll go through all people on the project that you interact and what you need to know about these guys. So let's get started. So everything will start with your past experience. So everybody on the interview, your past company, and then the project. Okay, usually that should be your most excited project. Wherever you in your career had something interesting, talk about it like it was on your last project. What's the project you're most proud of? Or this is the last project, was so excited. That gives the energy, that shows me that you are bringing the most exciting, positive energy from your last project, okay? Whatever example you give, or have you had a situation when you had to design something? Yes, and in your mind, it happened 10 years ago on my last project, and then you describe the situation. Because I want to know that you just did it, that you just solved this problem, okay? So you have your company, you have your project, what the project actually did, okay? That's separate. Now, question, who did you work as an IT professional? What is your circle of people that you are interacting, you know, on the project? Doesn't have to be on a daily basis, but you need to know these people, okay, and what they do in the organization. So first, stakeholders. So the stakeholders are managers that are affected by this project. Some managers can be positively affected. These people are usually sponsors of the project because they think, oh, this change is going to help my team to generate more money or to save more money. Okay, so that's people who benefit. There are managers that may not benefit from this project. For example, it's front end will sell now bigger loans or some kind of new product. What does it mean for operations? They have to process new products with no new people. They have to go through training. Obviously, there will be mistakes, and nobody's going to pay them more. So, operations manager is not going to be very happy. So, but he's a stakeholder. He will be affected. There will be testing and so forth, right? So you need to realize that these people are stakeholders, and are they positively expectations or they are negative expectations? Totally different energy when you talk to these guys. Okay. So now that we know who these people are, everybody's like nodding their heads because everybody now remembers these guys, right? In your professional history. So now, how do you interact with these with these stakeholders, right? Usually, BAs and stakeholders are involved in the beginning of the project when we assess the scope, who will be affected, and so forth. So we can expect their expectations. So that's where we're going to get, are they positively attitude or they have negative attitude? From the sponsors, we want to get benefits and possible risks from the negative guys, because they will tell you everything that can go wrong. Oh, we need to do training, or we need to adjust this, we need to do this. So, but that, listen, we say, okay, good thing you brought the risks, but we will include in our project plan so we can mitigate this. They can help to define acceptance criteria, because as managers, they will say, I will accept the changes if you guys pass certain tests. If my people are trained, if I see testing results, you know. And so what do you tell as a business analyst to stakeholders when you meet them? You say, I'll be the single point of contact for this project. So that means you think of this project, think of me. You have a question, send it to me. I'll take care of you. So that's how you establish relationship with stakeholders. Right? I understand there will be you will be negatively impacted. And listen, if you need more resources, let's estimate. We can make it part of the project. So everybody kind of get a picture who stakeholder is, right? Because most of the people get a question, tell me about senior management, stakeholders, and how did you interact with them? Right? So now everybody got, oh yeah, that's how we talk to this guy. It's not like on every day you interact with them. But they're there, lurking behind the scenes. Next ones are business and technical subject matter experts. So I tell business analysts, never ask detailed questions from stakeholders. Just high level, what is your expectation? And point to who should I be talking about detailed requirements. Because they'll be happy to delegate this job. So there's the subject matter experts. He says, oh, this is Anna, he's handling this area. George is my report guy. Oh, perfect. I can bother Anna and George on a daily basis, but now don't bother the big boy. Okay? You also may have subject matter experts on the IT side, like system analysts, people who know the system and they know, data is flowing from here to there, availability, different stuff. So you may go to other IT analysts and get information. Just remember the subject matter experts, they're experts in one subject. Don't try to ask all the questions for your project from one person. Now, so we say who is the SME, what, how do you interact, and what details you can provide on interview to make it real. So you have to give specific example, if you gave the document or you received the document or you produced report or something, and make sure you put a number. So to give you example, tell me about SMEs. Well, I speak with different, system is broken down by different components. Each component will have its own subject matter expert. For example, for whatever the system, I was working with George. He was subject matter expert, and I needed from him a number of transactions or a file layout that had 30 fields. Right? So once you throw the number, it becomes real. People say, okay, why would you throw the number unless you was working and you actually were counting how many fields in that field, in that file, right? So when you give examples, say, I produced 5 reports on a monthly basis for this guy, okay? All right, who else we have in the organization? We have, okay, system and data architects. So these guys are very kind of mysterious. So the architect, his job is to make sure that applications, software can run on hardware, that hardware is sufficient to support applications. You can have one server, let's say it's one SQL server, but many databases on it supporting multiple applications, and they store data and they store data and they store data. So his job is to make sure that the server and memory will not run out, crashing the server and crashing the databases. So when the new application or new project starts, he sends a questionnaire to project manager, to Scrum Master, to business analyst, to business system analyst. He sends a questionnaire and says, okay, your project has been approved. Here is the questionnaire. How many consecutive users are you going to have? Is it web-based? Is it Windows-based? What database you're planning to use, what is the usage? How many records you're going to create over the next 5 years, right? What was the size of each record? Okay, so he's going to ask this kind of crazy questions that you're like, why he's asking? I don't know. Well, you go to subject matter expert, okay, and you ask them. So now he can estimate your system requirements, and he will say, okay, I have this server with this space, so you'll be hosted on this server, or we have to buy new hardware, right? So he's thinking ahead. That's his job, to make sure your hardware is prepared, and when you build the system, it will be working for years. Okay, so again, how much interaction you have with this guy? Not much. He sends us a questionnaire and was part of filling out this questionnaire. And pretty much that's it. On many projects, that's all your interaction. If they ordering hardware, you may have maybe testing on this new hardware, migrating something to the new hardware. But that's pretty much it. Okay, but they may ask you. Okay. Next, so business analysts. What is the job of the business analyst? Job of the business analyst is to manage requirements. Remember that. That's one phrase. My job is to manage requirements, nothing else. That is a big thing, but your responsibility is to manage requirements, not to manage Jira, not to manage a project, okay? Requirements, solicit requirements, so meaning get requirements, organize it so people can find it, making sure they're correct. If there are any changes, you're responsible to make the changes, notify everybody about the changes, and if the system does not work per requirements, you will be the one saying no, requirements say A, you showing B, then that's not correct, okay? So think of your roles. Everybody is like different. How do you interact with business analysts, right? QAs interact with business analysts, trying to understand the requirements. Developers, you know, can have questions. You mostly read what they produce, okay? So it's very important to kind of know what each person does. BA is very important person on the project, okay? The complexity right now is big, so without business analysts, developers would not know what to do in financial services industry. If it's a simple website, yeah, what do you want? Oh, I want a website like this guy. Okay, you can look at another website and recreate. You don't need business analysts. But when it comes to complicated financial transactions, regulatory reportings, you need somebody to explain it. Because I'm a good BA, but you can't program. So somebody is a good programmer, somebody knows business. They have to work together. Next, PO, product owner. So product owner job is to set priority during the sprints. So this role is from the Scrum, and his primary responsibility is to set priority in the pieces of work that will be created during sprint. So eventually it results in higher return on investment. So return is the value of the software that we produce every week, every 2 weeks. Investment is the cost of the team and everybody else's time spent on this, okay? How do we interact with product owner? Primarily is business analysts and Scrum Masters who interact with product owner, you know, getting him to set the priorities. As a developer, say, well, I take the next item. I know the product owner sets the priority, but my job is to see his final result. I don't need to ask him what is next. If everything is the same, not prioritized, then it's a problem. But so that's his job, okay? So you can say, yeah, product owner gave us the product backlog with, you know, 10, 12 user stories, right? So throw the number there. All right, then we have nasty developers. Why they're nasty? Because they just know how to program and they like to have clear requirements. And if requirements are bad, or they will just code as per requirements. And some developers think they know better and they will ignore requirements. So you have to know what is their perspective. Right now on my project, even though they know it's wrong, they will code exactly as per requirement, knowing this is wrong. We said, this is what requirement says. And then they wait for BAs to find the bug and fix like, you gave us wrong requirements, not our fault. So they're sticking back to us. So I'm like, I caught it and I said, well, we stop everything. We can't send anything down the pipe. I want us to have good review, make sure requirements is correct. And they're like, Roman, you're holding up 1 day. Okay, it's 1 day, but you guys, it took a month to code, receive it. They tested it that it's wrong, knowing. Send it back. It went all the way to the business. Business got upset. I'm like, that cost us like 2 weeks and reputation. So let's just make sure what we send to them is okay. And they were laughing on the meeting side. Let's do what Roman says, because we tried to show you how bad it is. Let's do it the right way. So we are in this process of reviewing all the requirements. Okay, so requirements, developers, they take requirements, they write the code, they do the unit testing, okay? We see their code. So if you're QA, how do you interact? You see the code, you can help with deployment. If you see some behavior and you collocate it, you can collaborate with developers. You can participate in planning and estimation, right? So playing poker, that's playing not after work poker, it's playing estimation poker, okay? So for the BA is a single point of contact. So if you're business analyst, you say, I'm giving them requirements, but I'm telling you, I'm your single point of contact. The same way you told to the business, the same way you say to developers, I'm your single point of contact. If you have a question about requirements, you talk to me. You don't go to stakeholders. You don't send any nasty emails or any questions upstream. It goes to me and Scrum Master. That's it. Okay, we don't want any questions going to stakeholders. All right, quality assurance. So what is their role? The role of the quality assurance is defect-free product. That's the end result. They're responsible for the defect product. On a side note, they also responsible for us following a process. So on my project right now, I'm integrating them to review user stories. Just they review requirements from the quality perspective. Right? I want good requirements. I'll make QAs, look at it first. So as a developer, you will see their bugs. As the BA, you have to explain the requirements to them. They check your requirements. They can give you feedback and they write test cases. And my test is like this. If QAs can write test cases, it means developers can write code. If my QAs say we don't understand, we cannot write test cases, it means developers, it's ambiguous. So I'm not going to give it to developers. So this is my first test. Hey guys, take a look. Can you write test cases? No, Roman, we don't see, we don't understand how. We can promote it to development. Let's get BA, let him answer all your questions. And when you sign off that you can develop test cases, then I'm going to give it to developers. QAs are the ones that spend the most time with the system. They are the ones who test the functionality very thoroughly. So in demonstrating the software or preparing for demonstration, they can be a very valuable resource because they set the data, they know how to get into certain tough cases, and they're very helpful, with showing the system. If they have good communication skills, they can may as well do the sprint presentations. Okay. Okay, then we have a Scrum Master. So Scrum Master is responsible for Scrum process. Well, now I'm learning I'm responsible for more than that, but originally the plan is to be responsible for Scrum process. I mean, we take certification and we learn about these 5 ceremonies, and that's like level 1. But then how do you institute? How do you make the wheels turn? How do you make the wheels turn? So that's these real details on the day-to-day, how to be Scrum Master, and actually the fact that like I know every little bit, so I can go to the QAs and say, show me. That makes sense. You guys good. BA, show me. You have no idea what you're doing, okay? So this is how you're supposed to be doing. I'm like, share your screen, copy this, do that. This is the good user story. Now everything should follow this format to the point like that, right? Hey, developers, are you doing continuous integration, continuous deployment? No? Look into it. Right? Do you? Show me. Where is the results? Okay, how do we make the next step? So kind of taking people through the best practices, and if they're following, great. If they're not, let's get you to the next level. Let's up a notch, right? So Scrum Master is kind of in the middle of everything because he needs to make sure that the wheels of Scrum are turning. Right, so this is very important that this cycle of these 5 meetings is happening. It's happening. So putting people in place in time when these meetings needs to happen, how the handoff is done, that's the trick. That's the trick. And the shorter the sprint, the more crazier it is. So starting with 2-week sprint is the safer bet. Like we are trying 1-week sprint and it just turns into the shit show. Well, if you matured enough and all the processes are running smoothly, 1 week is okay. 2 weeks, better because we need a handoff and people like doing slowly. Like for us to raise the bug is a day, to describe a bug is 2 days instead of like 1 hour. Exactly. So if the testing would take very quickly, a couple hours, it's okay. But now for us to raise 1 bug takes 2 days. So, you can't expect, or releases not daily, releases like every 3 days. So 1 week did not work. But business say we want to see results quicker. So now they press for more often. So how to find balance. Okay, so Scrum Master primarily responsible for Scrum process. Make sure that everybody kind of understands their roles, what are the handoffs. And usually Jira or another software is the central focal point of the team. So it falls upon the Scrum Master to organize the boards, the views, the workflow, explain to people what to do. Like for example, before I joined, BA would write the requirement and just assign it to developer directly. Nobody checked the quality of it. Nobody checks, are we in a sprint, not sprint? You would just assign, right? So developer is coding something, finally got concentrating, working his 2 hours a day when he's working. Suddenly he gets email, something assigned to you. So he drops this, looks at some crazy requirement and loses everything, right? So that's the first thing I had to stop. Like BAs, you don't assign anything to developers, right? We have a handoff, we accumulate the user stories, we review with dev leads, they take it into their Jira, and they take it over. Like, what's the point of assigning it to developers? So, organizing Jira, creating different reports. I inherited a backlog with 400 items. 90% of it was nonsense, duplicates, people no longer working there, people copied their Jira stories from another project, different BAs took Excel file and loaded, just bulk upload. So one of the first things is, hey, let's clean this stuff up. Product owner was like, I'm like, you're responsible to give me priority. He's like, 400 items. I don't know what they are. I don't even know what to assign. So help me. So we went through this exercise of cleaning, stuff up. So knowing like advanced Jira, I would say, well, not even advanced, but like medium level, intermediate is a must. Like bulk updates, like different things that we didn't do yet. Very helpful, very helpful. Because on the meeting, hey Roman, how many Jiras we have here? How many here? I have the same project. I have about 8 different views open to look at the data from different perspectives. How many we have? How many we're waiting to review? How many questionable to close? How many are linked to development Jira? So it's like it's getting complicated. So I have these 8 views already to different people, different questions to track different things. So it becomes like a focal point of everybody. And if it's configured, that's the only kind of tool you need. Confluence with requirements. And Jira is that workflow where everybody knows where everything is. Okay, so that's kind of, we went through everybody on the project who is involved. Okay, so now you can imagine your interactions with stakeholders.
I apologize. Could I affect this paper?
I will post this paper into our new group, IT careers going from good to great. You were supposed to get email.
Facebook? On Facebook, IT careers?
Yes, on Facebook. It's not a new group, but it's kind of new group.
Okay, don't waste your time. Let me email them. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I'll make sure. I'll make a PDF and I will load it in there. Okay. Okay. So, any questions regarding this?
Roman?
Yes.
Every agile project I've been on doesn't really have a formal product owner. As the business analyst, maintaining the backlog is usually my responsibility. Would you say that product owner maps to BA in practical terms?
Excellent question. Thank you, George. Excellent question. One of my favorite topics, as you know. Actually, next week, we're starting our new BA class. And actually, I'm changing the name of the class from BA class to BA/product owner class. Because there is a lot of overlap between what kind of BA is doing and product owner is doing. Okay? They overlap. And in different organizations, you go from one extreme where you just have a product owner and no BAs. You can go to another extreme where the BA is handling everything and there is no product owner, right? So, but there is a big range in between. So, for example, if you have many stakeholders and one business analyst, then it's much better when the business analyst plays the role of the product owner, because now he becomes the single voice and he has meeting with stakeholders outside of the team. He has separate meeting, manages the product roadmap, makes them to make a consensus, and development team just sees one voice. Okay, the best practice is for the development team hear one voice, meaning very clear requirements and prioritization. Another extreme, like on my job right now, we have 8 business analysts. It's a complicated project, bunch of data sources, data warehouse, reporting, very complicated. So one BA probably cannot physically even know this stuff, right? So we have BA who knows impact, who knows, we have like 10 sources, 10 different financial systems. They all report to the data warehouse. It has to transform into financial reporting. So the guy knows impact and how the files lay out there. Another guy knows Wall Street. Another guy knows different things, right? So we have these subject matter experts, BAs, understanding how to read data and how it's supposed to end up testing. Okay, it's fine. Like I said, it's all okay. But the point is now, who is the product owner? So I said, we need a product owner. So the guy who was a project manager for 3 months, and he knows the stakeholders, and kind of he knows fix their problems and he's their face, he is the product owner, right? So he sets the priority. BAs are writing user stories, but he picks the user stories and puts for the next sprint, right? So first he was like, eh, and now it's kind of starts to work. He embraced the role. He said, oh, I don't have to do anything. I just, Roman, Roman, I approve everything. Like I told you, when it's ready, you have my approval. You move it. So he completely like outsourced, but still he shows the priority. Okay, George?
Yeah, it's. I think the idea of using the term product owner and to manage the backlog needs to be sold on some organizations, because usually they don't have a concept of a product owner. I mean, or
that's too bad. That's too bad. It means they need to be educated. So they need to be educated in the use of the person who can set the priority. And again, on smaller project, one BA can definitely write the user stories and set the priorities as long as he understands that the stakeholders will approve his, what he's doing, right? Yeah. Because he doesn't pay for the project, right? So he can represent people who are paying for the project.
Right, because even at Mizuho, I assumed the term product owner, for a project where I was maintaining the backlog, and that was actually challenged because their concept of a product owner was something very different.
Well, okay, check this out. At Mizuho, we also had our business sponsor, right? He had no idea what is Jira. He had no idea about anything technical. So, but I actually created like a plan. I created user stories. And I said, look, in your vision, since you understand that we will deliver this project over the 4 months, he understood that. What do you see? What do you want us to do? First month, second month, and the third month? And he actually explained, I'll be happy if I'll see that you implement this transaction. Next month, I'll be happy if I'll see this type of report. Next, I will be happy if I'll see, this thing. Okay, so he laid out his words on paper. Oh, okay, I documented. So then I made BAs write user stories, which they did. I brought the list to him and I say, look, you want us to create this report for the next month. This is functionally what we will implement for you, yes or no? And he said, yes, right? So kind of not directly, but indirectly, he approved the priority.
Yeah, I mean, creating the backlog would be the product owner's responsibility. That's the creating of the initial backlog. But prioritizing it is, of course, it's a group responsibility, but it's mainly the product sponsor, of course, who has the last word.
Also depends on the skills, what this person is capable, right? So imagine you don't need a business analyst, but somebody needs to manage requirements, and prioritizing requirements kind of is related, right? So it depends if you have skills both, great. Don't forget, you can write user stories and functional requirements also. Again, it's a little different skills. So it's all just taking people, analyzing their skills, and aligning their skills to the tasks. Okay? So what you should do, I understand why you're asking. Read the job description careful, each one when you go for interview, and try to assess what exactly this organization is looking from you, okay? Or listen carefully during the interview, how they describe, and stay within their description. If they want you just to write user stories and function requirements and has nothing to do with priority, just say, I'm very good, I'm writing user stories, functional requirements, and that's it. If they say, we want you to write requirements and test, you say, on my last project, I wrote requirements, function requirements, and I was testing. If they say, we want you to be product owner, write the priority and test, and do the project management, and we want you to be a Scrum Master, you say, that's funny. On my last project, that's exactly what I did. I was the Scrum Master and the product owner, and wrote the user stories, and wrote the function remarks, and tested. So whatever they say they want, that's the same thing you tell them you did. That's how you get the job. Okay?
I'm afraid so. Yeah, but
This is the rules of the game. You play by the rules, you get successful. You break the rules, they hire somebody else who plays better. That's all it is. Okay? It has nothing to do with you do what you know. Do you play the interview game or you don't? If you play it right, you're going to get a job. If not, you will be second best. And if you're second best on the interview, you're just the first loser. Unfortunately, that's the fact, right? That's all.
In a job description, if I see the word backlog, I figure this must be a pretty sophisticated organization. They really know what agile is. If I just see that word, you know.
Okay, well, exactly. Well, it's combination of words. If they use backlog, agile, user stories, priority, it's a clue that this is agile shop. If they use words BRD, FRD, UAT, that's a clue that this is a waterfall shop. Do not bring agile up until they ask you if you have experience with agile, and then you say, funny you should mention that. We started as a waterfall shop, and lately we were transforming into agile, which was very interesting. And they're like,
they want both. They want both. They want you to be. They want projects to be agile and waterfall.
So listen carefully, and even if it does not make sense, say that your last project was just like. All right. All right, guys, I'm going to stop the seminar. Thank you very much, George. As usually, see, that excitement, that inquisitiveness, bring to the interview, bring to your introduction. You understand? Make it a little bit interesting. Put some personality into your presentation.
Okay,
all right, so